Well, after 7 years together, you'd think Eugene and Jane would have had their rhythm down, their life mapped out like clockwork. They weren't newlyweds fumbling through compromise. They were seasoned, tested, comfortable in the rituals of everyday love. So when that New Year's ball dropped, Jane didn't wish for diamonds or distant shores. What she wanted was something rooted, a piece of earth to call their own, a place where they could build a life brick by brick, wood by wood, memory by memory. And for a moment, just a fleeting, golden moment, it felt like the universe was actually listening. A listing came up almost too perfect. Rolling land on the edge of town, quiet enough to feel like a retreat, close enough to keep their city jobs. Then came a team of builders who seemed almost heaven-sent. They dipped into the nest egg they'd been nursing for years, added a modest loan, and just like that, their dream began to take shape in concrete and sawdust. They didn't give up their apartment right away. Instead, every weekend turned into a pilgrimage. Two people, coffee in hand, walking the bones of their future, watching walls rise, rooms form, laughing over paint samples, and arguing over cabinet handles. But slowly, subtly, something began to crack. Not in the walls, but between them. It started with the little things. Jane saw the house in her mind long before the foundation had even been poured. Every room already had a purpose, a color, a feeling. Eugene, on the other hand, saw compromise as surrender. He had his own vision, and he clung to it like a lifeline. Whenever Jane offered another perspective, he didn't argue. He withdrew, silent, detached, as if her words simply bounced off him, unheard. He wasn't the type to offer comfort, let alone admit fault. No, Eugene prided himself on being a man of principle. But sometimes, principle is just stubbornness in a better suit. Still, somehow, through tense silences and sharp words, through slammed doors and second guesses, the house was finished. On move-in day, the air was thick with unspoken things, but the house gleamed. It was beautiful and hollow. Not long after, they were back in the city when they ran into an old friend of Eugene's, a man Jane had never met before. His name was Alex. The reunion was pure coincidence. Eugene lit up at the sight of him, clapping his shoulder, pulling him into conversation like no time had passed. Jane stood off to the side, observing this charming, laughing stranger with a polite smile until their eyes met. And in that second, she felt something, a flicker, a current, the kind you feel in your stomach, before your heart can explain it. Alex was newly separated, he said, taking a short break from everything, his marriage, his life. Rough stuff, Eugene offered with a shrug, and then, with a glint of generosity, or perhaps ignorance, he invited him to their upcoming housewarming. Jane will be there. So will a bunch of her single friends, he added with a wink, not noticing how Jane's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. The night of the party, the house looked like a spread from a lifestyle magazine. Twinkle lights strung across the courtyard, soft music drifting through the open windows, a dozen friends buzzing with wine and congratulations. Jane had been up since dawn, orchestrating the whole event like a maestro. She'd asked Eugene to help. Just a few things. He grunted, moved the grill, set up the table, and then disappeared upstairs, claiming exhaustion. She was still elbow-deep in prep when Alex arrived early, bearing a bottle of wine and an easy smile. He didn't hesitate to roll up his sleeves, didn't wait to be asked. He moved with quiet purpose, folding napkins, chopping vegetables, making her laugh with offhand comments and unexpected compliments. "You've really built something beautiful here," he said, eyes scanning the room before resting on her face. "You too," he added, soft and warm. And Jane, tired, unseen, underappreciated Jane, felt the blush rise up her throat like a secret. Later, when the guests arrived and the courtyard filled with noise and laughter, Alex seemed to slip seamlessly into the fabric of the night. He was magnetic, effortless. Jokes landed, stories captivated, and Jane found herself watching him through the candlelight, unable not to compare. Her husband sat stiffly at the head of the table, eyes distant, a ghost in his own celebration. As the night deepened and the drinks flowed, Eugene noticed the platters running low and rose with a sudden decision to fire up the grill again. He called out for Jane to bring him more supplies, but the words were swallowed by the music. He asked a friend, who vaguely gestured toward the house. So Eugene went inside. He walked through their new home quietly, each footstep echoing more than it should. When he reached the bedroom door, he heard it, muffled voices, a soft sound that didn't belong to a party, something private, something intimate. He opened the door without knocking. What he saw stopped time. Alex and Jane, tangled in sheets that still smelled like fresh cotton and new beginnings. Their limbs wrapped like vines, their eyes glassy with liquor and something far more dangerous. They didn't see him at first, but when they did, panic burst through the haze. Eugene didn't speak. He roared, an animal sound that ripped from his chest, pure and furious. He lunged. Fists flew. Jane screamed. Someone pulled him apart. It was chaos. Shouting, crying. Furniture knocked askew. Alex slipped out before anyone noticed, vanished into the night like a shadow. Jane, sobbing and shaking, was eventually ushered out by a couple of friends who stayed behind, unwilling to leave Eugene alone in that house. And so he sat there, alone, on the couch in the house they built together. A house that now felt like a mausoleum. The party was over. All of it gone. The rage had burned off, leaving only questions. How did it get this far? When did she stop looking at him like she used to? And when did he stop noticing? The next morning, he packed a single bag and left. Filed for divorce before the week was over. He couldn't stay in that house. It wasn't a home anymore. It was a monument to betrayal. They sold the land, sold the house, split the profit with cold precision. When the story spread, their mutual friends drifted toward Eugene. To them, what Jane had done was unforgivable. Cheating, especially like that, was a line you didn't cross, no matter how broken things had been. Jane tried to explain herself. The months of silence, the loneliness, the feeling of always being second to Eugene's pride. But her reason sounded like excuses, and excuses don't win back trust. In the end, she lost everything. Her marriage, her friends, her sense of belonging. And Alex, he returned to whatever life he had left behind. No calls, no messages, no promises. He'd been passing through, that's all. A storm that came, wrecked everything, and moved on without a backward glance.